Hey folks, I'm Adam Wasser from New York City. About the idea of backpacking and traveling. I've traveled, thank God, around the world and not enough yet. My next adventure, God willing, will be either Central America or Southeast Asia and India for a year. We'll see. Sometime in the winter. Nonetheless, I always find that when traveling, it's always good to go with a few people so you can experience that. You know, I've traveled and I've met many people that travel alone. A lot of times guys, they just travel, and you know, after a while it gets kind of lonely, but that's up to you. As far as traveling, I think hosteling it is the best way to go if you're doing long-term traveling. You know, if you're going from the southern part of South America all the way up to the United States, hosteling is the best way to go. You can get hostels for $5 to $10 a night, and even cheaper. When me and my father were in Egypt, we traveled up and down the Nile River. We spent $500 in a month, 3 meals a day, nice, beautiful hostels that were private rooms, private bathrooms, clean, and I even went scuba diving in the Red Sea. It was like $500. But then you go to Israel, and it's a totally different story because it's more westernized. It becomes very expensive. When me and my sister were in Guatemala back in April, we had a fantastic time, and we were staying in hostels for like $10 a night that were bungalows in the jungle with private rooms, very clean and very nice. But then when we were in Cancun, Mexico in April, it was more pricey and not as nice. It depends on where you go. I always like to go to those rugged, out the far places. You know, I was in Yellowstone with my sister back in September, and it was, you know, we did some hostels and it was like $100 a night for a crappy room with bed bugs. You know, and it was like, you know, but it's Yellowstone and it was beautiful. It was fantastic, but very expensive. But then I go to a place like Flores, Guatemala, in the rainforest and see Calb, the Mayan temples, and it was just like, I don't know, we spent $200 in a week, living very well and seeing everything. So it depends where you go. Now, when you travel, be mindful. You should know where you're going. A lot of places that people think are dangerous actually are pretty safe. It depends on how you look at it. But you never know. So always keep your money secure. I keep my money either under my shirt or in my pants in a secure area or in my shoes. Always divide those valuables. Don't keep them all in one bulk. As far as water is concerned, you know, I tell you, me and my sister were in Cancun, Mexico, in September, and we only drank the bottled water. We didn't drink any of the tap. And we got deadly ill. We got really sick, and we couldn't figure out what the hell happened. What happened was that the bottled water was being taken from natural resources of the area, and the food that they were preparing was used with water. So we were taking that water in without even realizing it, and we got very sick. So I recommend, you know, even if you're going to drink bottled water, prepare yourself on the first parts of your trip to get sick. And remember, once your body starts to adjust to it, you should be okay. Even with food, you get sick for a few days, don't worry. Just relax. Know where the pharmacy is, and just keep on going when you get better. Because don't ruin your trip on a fear that you got sick. It's not unusual. It happens all the time. It's adjusting. Even when I lived in Arizona for a year, I worked in conservation work out there. I got very sick from the water. For a week, I was deadly ill because the water was so bad. And that was the United States. It happens. Nonetheless, I recommend hosteling it. Normally when I hostel around the world, I find that I'm either the only American or one out of a handful of Americans. And that's very sad and it's tragic, but it gives me more of an opportunity to meet people from around the world, Europeans and Central Americans and South Americans and Israelis and so forth. And it's actually, you know, it's kind of like being the only black guy in the white group. You know, you're special. And the debates can be great. But still, it would be wonderful if more Americans did travel and experienced hostel travel. You know, Americans like to stay in these fancy hotels and spend all their money for a week in Thailand in this fancy hotel. But yet, they could spend a whole month in a very nice hostel, private room, for maybe $10 a night. Americans don't have that luxury of really long-term travel like Europeans do, but still, when you're married, you definitely need to have a timeout period. When you have children, you definitely need a timeout period to travel and experience and rejuvenate your relationships with your loved ones. And sometimes you just need to put your foot down and tell your boss, I'm going away for 3 weeks, deal with it. And there's always jobs out there in America, you just need to look for it, but that's another story. But you need to, in any relationship, give your time to rejuvenate your relationship, and traveling is a great way to do that. Anyways, I recommend check out third world countries. They're a fantastic and uplifting experience. If you go down to South Africa, you rent out a car for 3 weeks, $10 a day, and just travel the whole South Africa. It's recommended. And you could even, hike all the way up to Ethiopia if you wanted to. Not with a car necessarily, but it's possible. Like, you can technically get from South Africa to England, by just traveling and not taking a plane. It's very possible. Like Israel, you can't get through Lebanon or Syria, but in general, like even through Burma and Thailand, there's friction between them, but you can get through these countries. And even Pakistan and India, they're technically at a ceasefire agreement, but the borders are open and you can get through into Pakistan from India. I don't know about Afghanistan, and I definitely got to check that out, but I'm going to have to grow my beard pretty long to go to Afghanistan, but we'll see. It's not off the list. Anyways, take care and God bless.